He's never fought us. Not us united.
Oh! I can so see that. That's it. Welcome Under Two Capes, the premier podcast of the Comics League Network. I'm Jared. I'm here with JHEAT. What's up, dude?
Flame on. What's up? How you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. So today we're talking about. All right. So there's an event that JHEAT and I both had the exact same reaction to. Secret Empire. In other words, Marvel turned Captain America into essentially a Hydra agent. So, which clip was that?
You know the one.
Okay, I'll just do this one.
Why did you say that name?
It works.
Yeah. So, all right. This event, it took me years after this happened to start reading Marvel books again, and JHEAT still hasn't. So, it's still having long-lasting effects, like Marvel wants it to have.
Just not the effects they wanted, and I'm just like, nope, I'm done. And it's not even in terms of fan expectation. You took an American icon and literally bastardized him because you and editorial were having a hissy fit during an election year. I'll say
it. Exactly. That's what it is. That was 100. Because you can't tell me it's a coincidence that this happened around 2016. You cannot tell me that's. There's no coincidences in this case. You took the American icon, the one that represents patriotism, and turned him into a bad guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that...
I will play devil's advocate. Injustice did a similar situation with the Injustice universe, but here's the difference. That was an Elseworld story for a mundane, edgy, and immature video game. That would have no larger effects in main canon whatsoever.
That's why I said
Elseworlds exists.
In a very early episode of Under Two Cases, before Comics League, this is just when it was an audio podcast, Lad asked me, okay, so what do you think of Secret Empire? And I said, it works as an Elseworld story. If it's just an Elseworld story where like Captain America was a Hydra agent the entire time, it's great.
In a vacuum.
It works great.
In a vacuum.
It's like Heroes in Crisis. In a vacuum, the basic plot of that storyline is okay. The basic premise is cool.
It's your show, man, and we worked together so long, so out of respect, I'm going to let that slide.
Thank you. But my point with that is that if you ignore everything that DC has done to Wally West previous to that storyline, it makes it at least a little more palatable what happened in that storyline. But anyway,
they're still doing Wally dirty to this day. Have you read Dawn of DC Titans yet?
No, I haven't. Oh yeah, did they like kill him? Air quotes. Yeah, so that's Secret Empire. So what's the story of Secret Empire? How'd they get to this point? So as you know, Captain America lost the super soldier serum and got old. This is when, in All Different, when I believe Sam Wilson took over as Captain America.
Falcon
did, yeah. Then during the Pleasant Hill storyline, I'm pretty sure he was fighting, I think it was Crossbones, and the Cosmic Cube, which is basically the Tesseract from the MCU, basically revitalized him and turned him into young Steve, but also changed his history so he was always a Hydra agent. And it's just like,
okay, I can see where this was going for when it was pitched. 1, it was poorly timed. 2, it was poorly executed. And 3, editorial only let it slide because it's Marvel editorial. No one's really paying attention to what's going on.
No one really cares that Marvel editorial. Let's face it.
Let's be honest. There are a few good creatives there, but they're really getting screwed over. But
they're actually, I would argue, more than a few good creators. It's just, yeah, exactly. They're not being treated with respect by editorial.
And you want to know a good example of getting screwed over by editorial? Nick Spenser, and I will say this as long as I'm a part of Comics League. Nick Spenser was one of the few that actually left Marvel, terminated his contract, and branched out to work on Substack. And what did Marvel do? The Zeb Wells run for Amazing Spider-Man out of pure spite.
And Here's the thing. I've read at least the first trade of the Nick Spenser Spider-Man run. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
He puts him back with MJ.
No, he decanonizes sins past.
And apparently he was going to undo the undoing of the marriage before
The one more day.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, that's why. See, I appreciate Nick Spenser, and I'm willing to excuse this one like blemish on his record because I read other Nick Spenser stuff, and he is very competent.
He's pretty solid. Now, Nick Spencer is one of those creators. Now, if you take a back seat and you just let him work with the characters and he has a good understanding of them, he can do decent work. Let him cook. Mm-hmm. But if editorial, it's a Tom Taylor situation. His work is heavily impacted by how high fan expectation is and how much editorial gets in his way. Now, Tom Taylor's better on Elseworlds. There's no question about that.
Oh, yes.
But I still say it's a similar situation because the moment he left for Substack, they did this man so dirty. First of all, I wouldn't even give Amazing Spider-Man to Zeb Wells of all people. First of all.
No.
God awful. No. I mean, we got to start somewhere, but I would not have given him Spider-Man. Hell, Luke Cage would have been a safer bet. But
by the way, just real quick, I just want to iterate this. On Comics League Dark, we will be discussing the death of Ms. Marvel. We kind of have to, which is so stupid because she's dying in a book that she has little to no association with beyond the fact that she's a background character.
It just goes to show how bad the Marvels is going to suck. If MCU synergy can't save a character, then you know you're screwed.
When you can't use the MCU boost. But yeah, I'm sorry, JJheat, what were you saying?
Basically, to make it a long story short, this run is tanking. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazing Spider-Man. Now, of course, it's Spider-Man. This is a brand too big to fail type situation.
Like Batman. Spider-Man is essentially Marvel's Batman in terms of sales.
Pretty much. So I'm not going to say he's going to reach like 60,000 or 55,000 in sales. No. He's definitely going to be 70,000 plus.
Yes, but here's the thing. Relatively, it's bombing. I'm saying relative to how Spider-Man normally does. And Marvel knows this. That's why I think this run is going to be cut short soon. They're going to say, okay, this one is over. Zeb Wells completed his story. Sure he did. No, he didn't.
But here's the difference. Zeb Wells not getting a pity series. He's done. He's made literally to be the scapegoat. They wanted to get back at Nick Spenser for terminating his contract at the fans' expense. And Zeb Wells is made to take the fall.
And watch, it'll be hilarious. The next Spider-Man writer immediately murders Paul, and then puts Peter back with MJ. Immediately undoes everything Zeb Wells did.
Or Frank Richards could say, "Hey, here's a time machine. I'll take you back right before you left for that dimension."
Yeah, it'll take you back there, and you could go. He'll show up in like a time warp. It's MJ. She's the key. You've always been right about her.
God damn it. Now I will play devil's advocate. I feel like I will give Zeb Wells this. He's making the best out of a very bad situation. First of all, the lost love trope has been done a lot better. Death of Gwen Stacy in 1973 included. So the lost love trope has been done a lot better over the years. But I will also say that especially if you take Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Peter and MJ, I'm not going to say they're toxic, but they're very dysfunctional with the whole dichotomy between one's committed to be a superhero and the larger responsibility, and the other worries about their partner one day not coming home. It's literally it's the first responders mentality.
But here's the thing. They do it a lot. This is a lot better than the Lois Lane Superman thing, because here's the thing. Okay. I argue that that MJ gives more to Peter than Lois does to Superman.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, it's because I'm like an issue away from being done with Kraven's Last Hunt. By the way, that storyline is freaking insane, but so good. And I see the MJ Peter interaction, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's like when Marvel actually cares, that is actually written extremely well. Because here's the thing, he needs her. He needs MJ because he needs that decompression. He needs that person who's going to be with him and that's going to be there for him on his dark days. Not create more dark days that Lois Lane kind of does a lot of the times with Superman.
Okay, I'm probably going to get some heat for this, but by that same dichotomy, Felicia Black Cat could play the same role. She's essentially an anti-villain. The only reason she hasn't fully gone straight is because they don't want to break the status quo by having them be together. That's literally
aren't
it.
they together right now in the run?
Technically, but that's just a little sprinkle of fan service so Zeb Wells and editorial can cover their asses. Let's be honest.
Okay, that could be true. The issue I have with Black Cat and Spider-Man is that's too similar to Batcat.
It's literally the same thing.
It's literally the same thing. So I'm like, at least do something to differentiate the book from Batman.
The only difference is Black Cat is actually willing to go straight to be with Peter if editorial and the writer
Selena is. She was during the Tom King run, the first half of it.
But the chase is always going to come first. It's either going to be the chase on Selena's side or Bruce with the mission. There's just too much dysfunction there.
But the reason why Batcat works, at least I know we're really far away from the topic, but screw it, we're here, is because she shows Batman that because. Would you agree that Batman has a very black and white view of crime?
To an extent. Not as much as he did when he started out, but definitely to an extent.
She challenges that because, yes. she started being a criminal out of desperation. And and it basically shows them that, okay, a lot of these people aren't actual evil people. And I'd argue Selena does try and go straight just for Bruce.
Yeah, but the most of the farthest has ever gotten outside the Tom King run was literally just an anti-villain role. I feel like now, say what you will about Harley Quinn, the animated series, it's raunchy as hell, but they at least make an effort with Batcat. They show why it's dysfunctional. They know it can't work. It still parodies the characters a lot, but at least you see the relationship aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, and then going on to Superman and Lois. I know we're really far away from Captain America, but
we're circling back. We're circling back.
But the reason why, the chief reason why I can't stand Lois as Superman is because it always is the same story. She's in danger. He saves her. I was reading the first chapter of Warworld Saga, Warworld Rising, and she's in danger, and I'm like, literally out loud, I kid you not, I said, so. He's gonna save her, and I'm like, it's. I get that it's like because here's the thing: at a certain point, it stops becoming artful repetition and just becomes lazy writing. Because it's the same thing. Oh, because there was zero stakes in this case. Because I know DC's not gonna kill Lois Lane in continuity.
They wouldn't have the balls.
That's why I like him with Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman at least can fight back, and it's like, okay, he'll show up, he'll back her up, but she's thrown down with Doomsday.
And cheap plug, shout out to our Scion/New Direction verse if you want more on that.
And my upcoming series I'm doing with another newer comics leaguer, but beyond that,
I feel like
that's chiefly why.
Nostalgia aside, Superman and Lois works from the Clark Kent aspect in terms of reporting, pursuing truth, and stopping the bad guys. Mm-hmm. Clark being Superman is more of a muscle in that dichotomy. Now, there is a relationship there is a marriage there, but a lot of the themes and what made Superman and Lois so great is just from the foundation of a bygone era, like late Golden Age, early Silver Age. Mm-hmm. So from a modern context, okay, this is generic as hell. But how can you call something generic when it was the first to do it?
No, but I'm not. What I'm saying is that it was the first to do it. My issue with it is that it's gotten to the point because they're still doing the exact same thing today. If they took it and did something new with it, fine. They haven't.
Like Lois getting powers or John or the Super Twins. They have made attempts here and there to make Lois badass, at least somewhat contribute.
But here's the thing. The fans rejected it because I think this is my theory. Because remember, Greg Rucka did a Lois Lane series, which I've read parts of it. It's actually pretty decent. The thing about it is that the fans rejected because I think they want her to always be the damsel in distress for Superman to save her because they're stuck in that bygone era of the Christopher Reeve Superman era.
It did have an impact on the cultural zeitgeist. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So anyway, back to Secret Invasion. But dang it, Marvel, stop with the Secret Empire. But okay, now again, to be clear, by the way, I think that this was also Marvel's attempt to we need our own Injustice.
3 years after the fact.
3 years after the fact. Yeah, I know. But it was like, okay,
and you failed to realize spectacularly it was an Elseworld book.
That's the key. That is the one key.
And you've done this before with Civil War 1 in 2006 when you ripped off Kingdom Come.
Yeah,
you literally made the same mistake twice, just with a worse writer. I'll say it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it.
I mean, hey, I enjoyed Old Man Logan, so he's not like the worst writer.
The saving grace of the all-new, all-different Marvel brand. Let's call it for what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so now, okay, again, the overall, the isolated plot of this storyline is awesome. Because it's like Captain America, like, for one thing, he creates a planetary shield that's supposed to, like, keep the Chitauri out. I know, again, the MCU synergies there, but it actually is to keep the heavy hitters out of the Earth's surface. He plunges New York into the paradise dimension. Dang, DZ. Into the dark dimension. He has, like, the X-Men have their own nation. Oh, boy, this sure was foreshadowing something that was going to show up with Hickman. And, they even go so far as to enchant Mjolnir, so it's like whoever is strongest shall possess the power of Hydra. So it's like so much stuff, which I'm like, I didn't even know it was possible to override an Odin enchantment, but okay.
Well, you do have a cosmic artifact, and the Tesseract is a MacGuffin for all intents and purposes. It's a little cheap.
Mm-hmm. It is a little cheap, but
it's a little cheap, but it gets the job done, all things considered.
I thought it was Madame Hydra who did the enchantment. I could be wrong on that.
I would have to cringe and go back through it because I'm just like,
if you want a good commentary, watch Comic Pop's back issues on it. It's fantastic. But what he says is kind of funny. Is that he goes, I'm totally convinced that at the last second when they saw the backlash, they changed the ending of the story.
Oh yeah, hands down.
The ending of the story is okay. So the plot of the storyline is that the heroes and villains are both trying to find fragments of the cosmic cube. So the heroes can revert everything back to normal, and the villains can make it so the Nazis won World War II. So they succeed, and what's kind of stupid is that in this paradise dimension, actual classic Steve is like trapped, and then he gets rescued, and he literally is pulled out of evil Steve, and you have another Captain America bashing evil Steve. And I know, and to quote Comic Pop, I know this was changed ending because they actually said at the end, this is Steve. We're not going to have another Captain America pop out of nowhere and punching him in the face. In the most comic booky way of ending a story.
Now, I will give Civil War 2, even though Bendis has fallen off tremendously, I will give Civil War 2 this. They at least tried to tease Secret Empire with Miles Morales supposedly killing Cap. There was a tease there.
And actually, if you look at it, there's actually a Secret Empire tie-in, a Captain America tie-in that makes that makes Civil War 2 a little better because it shows that Steve was even back then manipulating the heroes in Civil War 2. And by the way, because you mentioned Civil War 2 and Bendis,
why did you say that name?
So the other thing that this does, which is complete and utter BS, they kill Black Widow.
Yep.
Okay, but then, which I'm like, okay, they wanted to give it stakes. You could have killed a champion because, let's face it, the champions aren't exactly the highest selling characters in Marvel. They've never been that. It's not like you have a character that starts off kind of like niche-y and then grows into like more popular.
They're Marvel's Teen Titans essentially, and I think they peaked at 65, right at 70,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm. Which
I don't think that was
bad. It's actually not that bad. But if that's your peak, it's like if these characters are supposedly the superstars that Marvel wants you to believe, that shouldn't be their sales peak. But anyway,
didn't they try to do an Outlaws event, which was essentially Civil War 3?
I think that's when they were gonna bring in like the I believe what JHEAT is referencing is the idea that was when you had like the Vita Ayala like redoing of the X-Men, the Chimeras, where it's like you have like the ones that like have that are on TikTok and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure that's what that was when there was actually no. That was supposed to be the background for the Snowflake and Safe Space New Woke Warriors comic. So if those that don't know, while JHEAT's doing his thing, I'll tell you the story. About a couple of years ago, Marvel put out a trailer for this book called The New Warriors. Now, the New Warriors are basically like, think of them like DC's Youngblood. They're basically like superhero celebrities. So what happened was, and this was the biggest like flub of Marvel, they put out a trailer. They were redoing the New Warriors with Snowflake, Safe Space, Screen Time, Trailblazer, and a bunch of other characters. And all right, what they ended up doing, okay, it became the most downvoted Marvel trailer of all time, to the point where the book never came out. People thought it was a hate group making a parody of woke comics. That's how bad this was. So the basic plot was the Outlaws. You couldn't be. I think the plot of Outlaws was you couldn't be a superhero unless you were like of a certain age, or you had like a superhero like mentor, I guess. I'm not exactly
It's
sure.
basically It's basically the New Warriors from the 90s.
Yeah. But am I right that was the basis for the New Woke Warriors that we got a couple years that we almost got?
It was a reboot essentially, and I'm just like, either this guy's a complete nerd or a beta male who half-assed this in a weekend.
Most likely beta male who half-assed this in the weekend, because he even called them too cool for him, and I'm like, dude.
No.
The other issue is that
have some dignity, for God's sake.
Remember, this is the dude that thought it was a good idea to give Screen Time his powers by exposing him to his grandfather's experimental internet gas. Although that's become JHEAT's thing where he just gets up and leaves. Yeah.
Roll the clip.
That's the thing.
Why did you say that name?
My point has been made.
Mm-hmm. It was so stupid. But so that's basically that. But the issue is, so they kill Black Widow. And as we know, comic death means nothing, which is kind of funny because it's like everyone freaking out that Ms. Marvel's dying. Obviously has never read a comic book before, because it's like death.
She'll be back in a few months, especially with the Marvels coming out. They're going to do some synergy for her. I don't know what.
How much you want to bet they'll have her revived on Krakoa and then just have her a mutant now?
Yeah, that's more than likely what's going to happen.
And give her Green Lantern powers from the show. But anyway, so the way they bring back Black Widow is they clone her, but the clone so what happened when Black Widow died is all of her memories somehow got backed up into the clone. So somehow they managed to back up Black Widow's memories, and the memories were downloaded into the clone.
Almost as if killing off Black Widow for the sake of impact was a stupid idea.
Yeah, you could have had him kill off they couldn't have him kill off a kid. I was going to say you could have him kill off a champion, but you can't do that.
No, that's in poor taste. Come on, man.
That's in poor taste. You could have had him. I mean, yeah. And by the way, this was also the time where you also had like Blue Tony, because Ms. Marvel had killed him. Yes, I call her Ms. Marvel because she's not Captain Marvel.
I call her Captain Karen. I don't care. So.
Well, there you go. She even has the Karen haircut in this era of her character. At least they gave her back the long hair, I think, in the more recent versions.
Oh, that was definitely an improvement. Not gonna lie,
that was definitely an improvement. She looks like a regular. She looks closer to the version that everyone wants her to be, which even Nerdette doesn't like her as Ms. Marvel. Marvel. As Captain Marvel, because she actually told me, remember when women in comics were drawn sexy?
A bygone era.
It was
a simpler time.
An elegant tool for a civilized era.
If Nick was here, he'd be throwing puns left and right.
Yeah, you know he would, but all right. And that's the thing. It's like this whole series was just was just ridiculously stupid from beginning to end because of all. Because yeah, the plot is cool, but the other stuff around the plot was dumb.
It was too convoluted. First of all, this should have just been a self-contained, out of continuity story and just ride it out.
Which
The
there
worst
you go.
The worst you could have gotten was Injustice comparisons because you pretty much did rip off Injustice.
Yeah, exactly. Except it wasn't like, except as opposed to Injustice, you had to change the backstory of a character. It wasn't like Superman still came to Earth; he was still a superhero. I mean, I think they tried to like change the backstory of Superman in like one of the recent Injustice issues, but it was stupid.
They tried it. Basically, he was like more, and there. I think that was trying to tie it back to Sonic Kal-El, to where he actually did try to do more for the world, try to instill more will. And I'm just like, you're depriving agency and free will in general. I get what Tom Taylor's trying to do. I really do. Whether it be 5G, the age up, Tom Taylor. In terms of that, we can't pin everything on Tom Taylor. And I know Tevy's going to go on a tangent for this, but you can't pin everything on Tom Taylor and Bendis. It was editorial. It's basically what Son of Kal.
Here's the thing: it was Bendis who aged him up, so you can put that on because, as far as I know, that was all Bendis.
Oh yeah, that was Bendis because he's used to writing teenage to young adult characters. He aged up John for his own convenience.
Then how about this? Don't write Superman.
But editorial want was chasing trends and wanted to make a publicity stunt out of it. And I understand from a company standpoint that you do, want to get like headlines, attention, profit. I understand that. But comics is a way smaller niche than TV shows. And two, the stories will speak for themselves. The stories and the sales numbers.
If the story is good enough, the people will spread it. Essentially, if you build it, they will come.
And as much as nostalgic and Rebirth was a very goodwill to the fans, most Rebirth titles other than Batman and Green Lantern were 75,000 to maybe right at 80,000.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it didn't do the numbers the higher ups wanted, but at least it kept fan expectation up. Everyone was happy and the quality was good.
And what's hilarious is that I did this when I was doing the Superman Wonder Woman sales analysis. When you look at like the sales for like the Lois and Clark book that came out during Rebirth, that book bombed hard, like 20 to 30,000 peak.
Wait, are we talking about Lois and Clark?
You remember the book that came out during Rebirth that's supposed to be what was Flashpoint Superman doing this entire time?
Okay, Lois and Clark.
My question is, and even the Rebirth Trinity book that was supposed to be all that didn't work out so well. Even the Rebirth Superman book didn't sell as well. So I'm like, if the fan base wanted him with Lois, why didn't the book that was literally supposed to be Superman with Lois sell better? Why is it that the book with him as Wonder Woman exploded and consistently outsold it?
You have a point. It was something new, and there was also a generational gap because you have the newer fans coming in and you had the younger fans. But
again, going back to our New Direction verse, they didn't have to kill him in order to make both fans happy. Because you had both. You literally had both Supermen there.
Okay. I'm just going to say this about New Direction. If they didn't just cave and just merge the two Supermen as a cop-out, hey, I can't say they would have done as good as us, but it would have done pretty decent.
It would have done like this way. You would have not alienated half the fan base.
But I will say this, Lois and Clark was just pure slice of life raising John for pretty much most of it. There was hardly any action in that book.
Yeah, that's true. But even in the Superman books that were action, Superman and Wonder Woman outsold them consistently. So this whole narrative that it bombed is like wrong. Because here's the thing. Peak 100,000 copies for Superman Wonder Woman. Now, JHEAT, how often does Superman reach that level? In terms of sales?
Well,
let me put it this way. Do you agree with me that Superman writers wish they had those numbers?
Yep. I'd agree to that. I agree
100%. Because Batman, yeah, he does that all the time with 100,000. So I'm not even gonna go with that. But Superman, I mean, let me put it this way: it's sad because Superman like started the entire genre. He should be more popular than he is. By the way, we're going to do an episode next week's Under Two Capes. I've decided is going to be like, why hasn't Superman been as popular as he deserves to be? But the point is, he's never been as popular as Batman. Never.
I agree.
And I think it's partly because the fan base keeps him in that Silver Age era. But anyway, back to Secret Invasion again. I see Secret Empire again. Sorry, we keep going far away from that. But the thing is that here's how bad Marvel knows they screwed up with this. You know what they did with Evil Steve? First, they put him in prison. Then they killed him. They were like, nope, we're not dealing with this anymore. We're just going to have Punisher show up in a War Machine suit and murder him.
That was the best thing they could have done, not going to lie.
Which, by the way, Punisher and the War Machine, I hope we get something like that in the MCU, please.
Probably not, though.
I know, but there's a hot toy for that, and I want it so much. It's Punisher. It's the Punisher skull on the War Machine suit, the skull on the faceplate. It looks dope. But anyway, that's that. You also had Deadpool because remember, here's the other problem with Secret Invasion. Dang it, I keep saying that. Secret Empire is the other heroes that sided with Cap sided so for really stupid reasons, like Thor. Where Thor was like, oh, he can carry the hammer. He must be righteous. What? You're a superhero who has fought Hydra in the past. Why are you siding with someone that's literally saying, Hail Hydra?
There was so much going on with Secret Empire in 2016 in general. It was just bad. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Here's what we're going to do to conclude. How would we do Secret Empire? We're going to redo it and do it Marvel should have done. First off, Elseworld story. Because I think that's the first thing you got to do, Elseworld story. Now, what superheroes, because essentially, you know what Secret Empire actually is? It's Civil War 3.
Pretty much.
Now, which heroes would you have on Cap's side? I would say Deadpool. I think they got that pretty much there. Oh, wait, another character that they destroyed is Punisher, because Punisher is like, Cap has promised to bring my family back to life. Okay, here's the thing: you're siding with the very people you swore to destroy. So what are you doing here? It's just this whole thing is like a character assassination, straight up.
Character assassination, the comic.
Mm-hmm. Essentially,
that would have sold better.
Ironically, it was then followed up by the Ta-Nehisi Coates Captain America run, which is even more character assassination on Steve Rogers. I will say, the first arc is good. The rest of them, crap. Like, really, really bad. And by the way, at a future date on JHEAT's channel, we'll be talking about the greatest Captain America run of all time. We have to. So, anyway. But the way I would have it, I wouldn't kill the Winter Soldier. Absolutely not. No. I think that's stupid. I think he should be the one who, if you want to keep the Captain America versus Captain America, he dons the Captain America suit to fight Steve.
Wouldn't that just be a callback to the Brubaker run more than anything?
Yes, because I love the Brubaker run.
But you already have Falcon Cap by this point, so it would be.
Only well different. By the way, in our alternate Marvel, never happened.
Okay.
If you agree with me on that, because I think that was always a bad idea in general.
From a comic standpoint, yes. From a business standpoint, it was a safety net for when actors like Robbie Downey Jr. and Chris Evans leave their contract, leave the characters. They could go the legacy route rather than blatant recasting. So,
but you should have done that. You should have done that when their contracts were done, instead of like during the peak of the MCU's popularity, when you know you could get these people back. That's what Nick and I keep saying, because you go into a comic book shop going, give me Thor. Who's this girl? I'm
Thor.
Sure that happened.
But yeah, that was a bad synergy move. It was a necessity, but it was very ill-timed. It's not even funny. I guess it was because at least one of their contracts was wrapping up, and they just barely got them to renew it for Endgame last minute. I probably won't know the full
But they're
story.
still on contract, so you still have them. Don't change it when your universe is so popular.
It was
But
a
that's
foolish
besides the
move.
point. But the point is, no all new, all different. So Sam Wilson is his own character, and I will say I do like how and now that they have two Captain Americas right now in the comics with Steve and Sam, they have them as two different Captain America. They even have a different like name, like the symbol of liberty, the symbol of truth, and like Sam has his own shield design. So at least
They're trying.
they
They're
made an
trying.
effort to different. That's why I'm cooler with it now as opposed to back in the day where it was almost a reskin of Steve Rogers.
I'll give you that.
Okay, so Sam is still Falcon here. Or actually no. Here's what you do. You do it earlier. If you want to keep all new, all different, have Sam still in the Captain America suit because I think he was. I think at a certain point, for most of the storyline, he was in Captain America.
No, I think he was Falcon America until his Captain America Falcon cap until his series got canceled. Then he rebranded as Falcon for a bit. It carried over into Secret Empire, and then he branded as Falcon Cap again.
I would have it where even I think he doesn't don the Falcon cap suit until the end of the storyline. I would have it be at the very beginning, so that way you could have that Captain America versus Captain America, because ultimately you have to have a Captain America fighting against tyranny. But I will say, and Iron Man's on the side of the good guys, obviously. But I love that scene with Iron Man where he goes, "This time, if I kick your ass, no one's gonna yell at me for it." I'm like, yeah, I'll give you that. That is awesome. That's a great line. I also love how how Pimtron gives it gives like Iron Man the shard. Even though Iron Man brings up, as everyone always brings up, how Hank Pym slapped his wife.
Yeah, that's a very dark. I think that was in the late Silver Age, early Bronze Age.
Mm-hmm. The stupid thing is that they could have undone that in Secret Invasion when the Skrulls came back.
Yeah, but it's such a fundamental aspect of his character. It's Hank Pym's descent to madness, and which leads to creating Ultron. It's a pivotal point.
All right, but anyway, Iron Man's on his side. Would I have the Hulk? I mean, I know the Hulk's like alive in this storyline. Nah, I wouldn't, because again, a little overpowered for one side to have the Hulk. And before you say totally awesome Hulk, I ignore totally awesome Hulk.
Arbedeus Cho wasn't as bad. I have nothing against him. I'm just indifferent to Arbedeus
The one
Cho.
that I think had the best the best reception and was the better was Ghost Rider.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, he can
Johnny,
be on
because Johnny Blaze goes back almost to like the tail end of the Golden Age, if you really think about it, like 1950, 1955.
Mm-hmm.
Like he debuts right before the Silver Age kicked off.
I'm surprised that a character like Ghost Rider survived the comics code, honestly.
Simple, he didn't have any titles.
Oh, okay. They just didn't use them. That works. But anyway, so I would have Ghost Rider because, again, it's pretty badass. And Black Widow. Who would you have on your Avengers team to fight Evil Steve?
If I could, I would have the Hulk. I would have Falcon. I would have Iron Man. I would have Miles Morales because he wants some redemption after what Captain Karen put him through. And maybe the Champions if they hadn't already broken up by this point. Again, I fell off with Marvel like right when this ended, so I'm not really familiar.
Oh, by the way, in terms of Captain Karen, I would have her actually imprisoned pre this storyline for what she did to Tony. Because here's the thing, like it or not, she still put an Avenger in a coma. And someone that was just saying, calm down, let's talk this through. So I'm sorry, she gets locked up and depowered. In other words,
well, you can't depower her. I mean, you could have her leave the planet or something like that. But
she's exiled temporarily she's exiled, and when she comes back, she's in her Ms. Marvel costume. But anyway, that's just my own wishful thinking, because when you
And
read
by
the
the way,
Brian Reed run, there you go.
in
It's
case I
good.
get flack in the comments, Ghost Rider debuted in 1972, so it was the tail end of the Silver Age. My mistake.
Okay.
My mistake.
Yeah, he seems like more of a character. He doesn't seem like a Golden Age like character though. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to look it up to make sure. But
Okay.
1972. The more you know.
All right. Who else would you have, or is that it?
God, I haven't read the storyline in years. All right, I talked about the champions. Iron Man, if he hadn't already gotten his body back. I would not have Riri Williams in the story. She has no business here.
No.
Uh,
Arguably the only one who has a business in this storyline is Miles Morales.
Pretty much. I mean, you could add the others for like solidarity or for a champions tie-in, but that'd really be the only reason.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I pretty much keep the original team because they don't really alter anything. It's just a lot of back and forth until you get to the final battle. So it's mostly back and forth and world building in the tie-ins.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I removed any setup for Krakoa because that was bullshit.
Yeah, we're just let me put it this way. Either we just give Hickman his due and just say do whatever you want and ignore what the other X-Men writers want, or we just don't go with Krakoa in general. One of those two would work.
I'd settle for not going with Krakoa, at least as a compromise. But if the X-Men editors don't want to play ball, okay, you're fired.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go our own way.
Okay, cool. Because Hickman sells more books than you do, Jerry Dugan. And in terms of Thor, here's how I would do Thor. And this is going after the fall. In other words, after Hydra's takeover. He self-exiles back to Asgard because he's like, I failed. I let this happen under my watch.
I could see that. That way you get some of the heavy hitters out of the way without anything too convoluted.
Exactly. Punisher is not going to side with Hydra.
No, it's not going to happen.
But he's not going to side with the heroes either. He's just going to be on his own, doing his own thing, because he's not going to side with the heroes, and he's not going to side with Hydra. He's just going to go, I'm just going to kill Hydra. I really don't care at this point.
Didn't he play neutral in the first Civil War, and the only reason he didn't fight Cap was because he had too much respect for him?
I think he joined Cap, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
I think so. So then in terms of like the bad guys, it's just like all the bad guys, Superior Spider-Man and all that would side with Cap. And the way I would end it is like you make it so you just undo you assemble a cosmic cube and then it undoes the retcon, in other words. Or you could do a bad ending where Steve wins and the Earth is rewritten. Either way would work. Because I feel like if you make it so the bad guys win, that's a little breaking the trope of the good guys always win. But so, JHEAT, before we log off, what would you do in terms of the ending? Would you do like the good guys win, or would you do like Steve wins?
I would do where the good guys win, or at the very least bring everything back to normal, because it's just the original ending with Steve. It's too convoluted. I get the backlash. They were trying to clean up their mistake, but
that was a horrible way to clean up the mistake, first off. And in terms of the aftermath of the event, because I'm going to have it where it actually has consequences, Steve essentially goes, I'm going to take a break from being Captain America right now because I just was a dictator.
I was literally mind controlled into taking over the world, basically.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take a break. Sam or Bucky, whoever's Captain America at this point, you stay being Cap. You're doing a good job. Just stay there. That's totally fine. I'm just going to go. This isn't forever. I would be sure to tell the readers, this isn't forever. Steve will be back. We're just temporarily giving his character time to breathe. And then at the end, I would have like Iron Man and Captain Karen like patch things up. She comes back as Ms. Marvel. And essentially this era I call the rebuilding of bridges. Essentially, it's Marvel trying to like undo a lot of the BS that they put the fans through in the past. That would be the new era. So, and by drop in the comments how you guys would fix Secret Empire, or if you enjoyed it, why did you enjoy it? Again, Elseworlds, it works better. I still, because here's the thing, I like the basic story. I like it's a lot of the stuff. It's all the other stuff that happens, like the event and the conceit of the event is actually pretty cool. And Nick Spenser is a very competent writer. It's not like we're dealing with Zeb Wells. It's just like, speaking of, but we're dealing with someone that knows how to write, and he clearly does, because the event itself is cool. It's just the fact that it's in continuity is the character assassination part, which is stupid as hell. So, I mean, again, drop in the comments your thoughts on Secret Empire, your thoughts on like how you would fix it, and so on and so on. Like, comment, subscribe. JHEAT, where can one find you, and what have you got coming out on your channel? You can find me on JHEAT Blaze on YouTube, JJheat75 on Twitter. I am recently wrapping up. I've already done part 3 of Batman the Telltale series season 2, The Enemy Within playthrough. I should have part 4 out soon. Also, get ready for next week's New Direction episode, where we do which one did we decide to do, Jared? We're doing the JLA, I think. JLA. And then we'll do one more character episode the week after, and then we'll wrap up the month with Bendis Point. We're just going to leave that word. We're not going to tell you what Bendis Point is, because we want it to be a surprise. And we're probably going to have Tevia on for that one, because that's going to be glorious. And by the way, this was my idea, and to the point where JHEAT and I both said, I can't believe it took us this long to come up with this idea for New Direction. To the Comics League, obviously this is coming out. We're doing movie night, which we're talking about Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. On Monday, I'm doing a video discussing more of like, discussing like how like the problem with the Zeb Wells Spider-Man run. And JHEAT, if you want to join me on that, you're more than welcome to. I would love to have you on. Oh, and definitely. That's worth a conversation. In terms of Indie Wednesday, Nick and I are going to do a discussion on like writing indie comics in general and stuff, because what I want to do for Indie Wednesday I'm still going to do reviewing indie books, but essentially every other week I'm going to be reviewing books, and every other week I'm going to be talking about a general like topic that goes into like writing indie comics. So that way to like give more content, give more varied content. And again, next week we're going to talk about what was the other 2K? Oh yeah, why Superman was so like why Superman struggles in popularity. Now, again, by popularity, I mean comic sales. I don't talk about cultural zeitgeist, because I can't deny Superman is super popular in terms of people know who Superman is. But that's just besides the point. So I'll see you guys next week. Yeah, and stay heroic, everyone. Bye-bye.